Next, I'd like to welcome to the stage Mavis Curry. She comes to us from lots of different paths, and she's a tremendous speaker. And I always look forward to hearing what you have to say, Mavis. And you are welcome to come up here and share your nuggets for today. So thank you, Mavis.
All right. First, in the spirit of the coffee thing, I want to tell you I love you so much. I did not have my second cup of coffee today. So some of you that know me know that coffee can be a bit of a distraction. And I wanted to speak to you and first say, I am grateful for your attention. Your attention is your most precious asset. And with that, I would like to share with you something that may feel and seem obvious, and you might even be tempted to say, I do that. I'm going to ask you to listen and go deeper. And if you notice today, there are a number of us that are stretching ourselves a little bit. And there's a saying that we tell the students at the School of Metaphysics: you grow when you get comfortable being uncomfortable. So there's a corollary to that. Pain is purposeful. And I know we all want to numb pain, so I encourage you that when you feel pain, use it as the messenger that's tapping you on the shoulder, maybe knocking you upside the head, to do something different, to change. And this morning I want to talk to you about stepping into deeper insight and greater vision. And there is magic. We call them miracles. When we can move to a place that, and this really came to me, I went to an entrepreneurial meeting, gathering, and it was very full of enthusiasm, and all these people that were sales-oriented, and salespeople can be a little annoying, can't they? I mean, if they're really overly persistent. However, one was carrying this mug, and on the mug it said, manage your mind, not your time. And so the message today is going to be about how we can direct ourselves mindfully and using our mind instead of, anybody keep time, calendars and actions and schedule? And I can get really myopic with that. I started something called a bullet journal a few months back. Somebody said, well, you need to do this bullet journal thing. I said, okay, why? I drove myself crazy. I had to just set it aside, because I was managing my time. I was over-managing. I was looking at all the things I had to do, and I thought, wait, what is this? And then when I was thinking of what to do and asking for guidance on what to talk to you about, insight and vision came to me. And it's cool because a lot of the things that we've heard about in song and in what we say about miracles and sight. And did you know that sight occurs in the Bible over 100 times? Over 100 mentions of sight, a vision. And that vision and that insight, being inside, going into ourselves first. Now, I often have a habit of engaging the mouth before engaging the mind. Anybody have that happen to them? I know it's probably an occasional thing that people do. Eyes to see. And insight is actually a predecessor to being able to truly visualize what we desire. We want to become present. You might hear stillness. So I want to tell you the what, why, and a perspective on how. I want to give you something. I might even ask you to do something, so you might need to find a pen. I noticed I was reaching around the back of the seats there for a pen to write something on that card, so there are pens out there somewhere. But first, what is insight? Insight You always go to the dictionary or Wikipedia these days, right? Insight is the capacity to gain an accurate and deep, intuitive understanding of a person, a thing, whatever it is you desire to connect with, to go and connect. There's an intuitive element of this. And I know there's some people in this room that actually teach intuition. It is something that you can deepen the capacity to do that. And intuition is having the ability to know or understand things without any proof or evidence. Now, the really nice thing is these days, is particularly for people in psychiatry and in therapy or whatever, psychiatrists often say, we're not a real doctor. People say, oh, they're not a real doctor. Because what are they doing? They're basing their practice on evidence. Behavior is very difficult to predict. And especially when you're working with someone one-on-one, you're looking for evidence, and you're looking for patterns, and you're looking for things that help you understand. You're going deeper as someone that serves others. You want to make that connection. And that connection, and why you want insight, is because you want to draw out the best of you. Who wants to show up the best me? Everybody wants to show up the best me, because when the best me shows up, I have a lot more fun. Yeah, I feel connected. I like to call it heart-centered. When I know I'm there, I feel it here. There's emotions and feelings. I define emotions as emoting, that energy that comes out, and feelings, that energy that comes in. And oftentimes people in different coaching, consulting, spiritual practice will ask the question, when you're in doubt, where do you feel it in your body? Where do you feel it in your body? If you feel it in your heart center and you're feeling a little pain, you're looking for understanding. Sometimes I get a little choked up in my throat. Every now and then you guys might hear me clear my throat. It's a desire to communicate. I'm feeling it here. I'm not saying what it is that I want. So I want to connect and create an optimal state of being. Insight is about connecting and being present. And the most valuable connection you can make is with that ideal you. And in that silence, what do you hear? The still, small voice. So, okay, I'm a Libra. I like coffee. I'm an air sign. Those aren't great combinations. And the other levity in it is I believe we choose how we incarnate. I also have a Leo moon. And there's somebody in the upstairs there that can empathize with that Leo-ness. And when you combine fire and air, what do you have? Okay. So, and you put coffee on top of it, and y'all are in trouble, okay? So, the most valuable connection you can make is with your ideal self. And the way you do that first is you have to be honest and admit, where am I right now? If you don't know where you're at, there's no way to chart a path to where you want to go. And knowing where I am, and then who I want to be. How do I want to show up? In the leadership training now, and I've had the pleasure of speaking to some of the Drake community, we actually taught a mindfulness class, myself and a young lady, Kim Guerin, some of you know. And awareness, showing up, being authentic and honest is probably the most important skill you can develop, especially for our young people now that are listening and getting bombarded with thoughts and things and ideas and influences. And I mean, it doesn't end. Everybody got a cell phone? Did you turn your cell phone off? It's difficult to disconnect from that thing, right? I mean, it's a great source of insight, right? Because we look something up right in a minute. Somebody says, who's the guy that directed what and what? And all of a sudden, you got instant access. So it's contagious. It's addictive. I watched a guy run into the tree walking in Grace Lake. So we want to connect to all resources to garner that insight, but the greatest insight is connecting with you. Who are you? Where are you in this moment? And just be the real you. That's what everybody wants to see. And that's what you have to give. And that's the source of your deepest insight, because you came here to give something. We call that a dharma. So what does it look like? Anybody had an aha moment? Come on. Yeah. Feels it. I got it. It's really fun to watch little kids when they get that aha moment, right? The first time they do something and they really connect with it. One of my teachers was in town, Dr. Pam Blosser. She's a wonderful lady. Her presence is the kind of presence I feel and sense is my ideal of being really in the moment and connected. And she spoke to an aha moment that she had, and it was when she was doing a play, and she was an angel in the play. And she was pretending she was the angel. Act as though. If you doubt yourself and your ability to show up, start imagining and connecting with something within you that brings you great joy. It's a sense that activates that heart center, and be present. Just draw it to you. So even when there's a tension, there is present a strong need. And that's part of insight. Anybody have an emotion say, well, I just don't know where this is coming from? It's an indication of a need. And you want to, again, step back, breathe, and move into it. Or what's a phrase now? Lean into it. Somehow leaning kind of makes me feel a little awkward. I like to move into it. And step into that. Be completely connected with it, because there's something you need and you desire, and that is the greatest use of insight, is to direct your attention, all your attention and all your resources to that. So how do you do that? First, you got to recognize the stimulus. Have you ever walked out of a situation and somebody says, did you get that? Were you there? Were you you missed all the stimulus. For whatever reason, you may have walked into it with a bad day and said, oh God, I just don't want to be here. Whatever it is, there are people, whether it's friend or foe. Everybody heard of something called reframing? Okay, reframing says that I look at something and then I look at what it possibly could be and look at it in productive, positive words. So if you got somebody that, there's a few people at this College of Metaphysics that really stimulate me. I'm using that in the most positive word I can. And yet I understand, and when I move into a situation with them, I always look at them as present to draw my attention to something I need to change. Even if they're doing something I don't like, it's like, man, they are really a control freak. If the more it aggravates you, the more you need to get a bigger mirror facing this way. So you got all these stimulus. We got books, we got the internet, we got art, we got music, we got these things out here that stimulate us, as well as these things in here. You ever get that moment you say, God, this just doesn't feel right? Pay attention. And then what do? The most productive thing you can do, and we are here in the physical to have experiences. Anybody avoid experiences? Oh yeah, there's those people I avoid. Those situations. And actually Zach was so kind, he says, Mavis, do you want me to help connect the service today? And I says, that'd be really great. Zach, we got 2 rookies here. And not that we can't read the paper, wherever it is. It is good to have some grounding and use our resources to help us in moving into the experience. So we first know we're being stimulated. We assess, can we show up and work with that? Or do we have resources we can connect with? And can we use our imagination? Anybody feel like, everybody got imagination. You can't imagine possibilities. Someone told me one time, I got really frustrated with somebody and I says, I just don't know what to do. He says, maybe you just got to use your imagination. And he was in my room in the College of Metaphysics, And he physically moved. He jumped on a stool and says, now you can imagine this, and he jumps on, and he's like this little rabbit bouncing all around my room. And I'm like, man, what have you been drinking this morning? Look at possibilities. Imagine possibilities. As well as, again, going inward to dreams. When you have a dream, it can give you insight. There's also a mindfulness practice. I'll call it mindfulness because a lot of people have debates on what's meditation, what's not meditation. Meditation is any time you're drawing your attention inward. You can do it when you're walking. You can do it in nature. There's one thing that you can do that is soothing. It activates the parasympathetic system. It really draws all your resources together, and that's breath. You can't see it. However, you can observe it. An insight and allowing it, and it's always with you. No matter where you're at, it's always with you. So knowing your thoughts is an important part of stepping into deeper insight. And then you move into vision. Because if we want to do something with it, I got insight. Anybody get so inspired you want to go do something and you just don't know what to do, and eventually it burns out and you sit back down in the couch and glad I got over that. So a vision creates a space and inspiration for action. Action, again, connected with experience. So vision's the picture that you have. And some people say, I can't imagine, I don't see things. Even if you feel it, a lot of people read and work with energy very differently. You may hear it. That's one of the things that happens with me. The sound, the movement, what feels. And it's looking at what's going to happen oftentimes, or creating that image of what's going to happen. And of course, in the biblical context, prophecy comes from a vision, right? And we read a lot of stories in the Bible. We hear a lot of people say, I had this image that really connected me. And the interesting thing is that it is important to be able to visualize in whatever form the energy shows up, because we need motivation. And we talk about ego as a great motivator. It is. I'm about to feel like I'm being insulted. My energy goes up, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to stand my ground. Or I feel like I really want to do something because I'll look good. There is energy present when you have a need that becomes the motivator for change. And change needs courage to actually step into it. So the courage comes because you know the value. Another word for value is purpose. If I know who I am and who I in this moment and who I want to be, and I have purpose and clarity of what that value is that's going to present to me, I can move into and be motivated to create a vision. And when that vision helps me achieve my goals, pursue my dreams, it also helps me in times of uncertainty, times of great change. And do we have a little change going on right now in our world? Just a little bit. Is there a little tension, maybe a little bit of stress? Pain's the motivator. All you have to look at is who do you want to be and create an image of that and go do that. Because as soon as you move, as soon as you make motion into that and you are doing and acting in what you believe and want and desire, what's happening out here does not affect you as much. Fulfillment comes from in here. Disturbance comes from out here, as well as the bushwhacking we do in here. Anybody bushwhack yourself? Yeah, I can't do that. I can imagine it. Who am I? I did this webinar series with 22 experts, and I, about halfway through calling people and getting people to sign up for interview, I started to get more and more nervous because I was getting a collection of people, but I was thinking, now, can I really hold it in an interview? And I started doubting myself. And I said, nope, this is what I want. I'm creating understanding, not just for me, because the quality of a vision, when you have an idea of what you want to achieve, and you know the value to you, there's an accelerator in this. The value to everyone else is going to participate in it. It's something called being in service. It is the highest form of consciousness is when you move into a place where you are serving not just myself, others. It's part of why we seek community. It's a lot more fun to serve with people that are like-minded, and we all got this shared ideal, and we all line up with it, and miracles do happen in those moments because, as said earlier, where two or more are gathered. Two or more are gathered. There I am in the midst of you. So you connect with the highest level of consciousness within you and beyond you. You know, when the person walks in the room and they're in this really great, it's like, wow, that person looks good. Wow, feel their energy. Do you want to engage with them? It's attractive. The whole universe wants to engage with that. And my mama always told me, God loves a cheerful giver. So if I'm giving, God's right there with me, guiding me, helping me. So I would challenge you that today, begin today, and visualize who is that ideal self you want to be. I challenge you to write it down. Even draw a picture of it. Now, I'm not a very good drawer, and I don't look too good when I draw a picture of me on a piece of paper. But don't worry, it's yours. When you engage writing, when you engage drawing, when you engage with music, I have my little music scarf on, all of those things activate the subconscious mind. That subconscious mind moves you closer to who? What? Universal connections. So when you can imagine and you set out to the universe with your writing, with your pictures, with your thought forms, this is who I want to be, and you hold that ideal of yourself, and you start every day with who do I want to be today, you are activating your divine birthright. Because in each movement of that, in each willingness to have the experience to be that experience is giving you choice. You exercise that divine birthright to become like the Creator. When I manage my mind, I can access greater resources. Then I move into activating my brain and my physical consciousness in my body. However, mind first, brain next, and come from a higher level of consciousness. So that's who shows up, the best you. So when I commit to continually learning, deepening my insight, holding a greater, more attractive version of me when I show up, everyone and everything in the universe will line up with you. The world will rise up to meet you. So I ask you, make a commitment to yourself. For you, that, and for me, that is the most important first thing we do. How am I going to show up? And second, make a commitment to serve yourself as well as others, and everything will be given unto you. Thank you. Turn this around.